The big picture. There is something important that scientists and physicists have missed about how our universe works. It is genuinely possible to build a perpetual motion machine. Non-motion is an illusion. Our universe and everything in it is in constant motion. Nothing in our universe is at rest, which is a true and accurate statement about the state of our universe from the beginning of time. The funny thing about objects in motion is that if you saw an object move suddenly, and if that object were not a living thing or a machine, it is highly likely a force caused that object to move. Given that everything is in constant motion in our universe and has been since the time of the Big Bang, a perfectly valid hypothesis is that an initial force caused everything to move. Either matter was present or not at the time of the Big Bang. If matter were present due to the heat associated with the background radiation, that initial force that drove all matter outwards would have to be insanely powerful or a grand, strong force. This corresponds to the Big Crunch Big Bang theory. A study of motion in our universe on a large scale, not just locally, but everywhere in our universe, points to something interesting. All the motion observed is only consistent with two forces acting on all objects, where both forces occurred at or close to the time of the Big Bang. One distinct indication there were two Big Crunch Big Bang events in the beginning, along with a grand strong force and grand weak force with matter caught in between, is the proliferation of spherical objects we observe everywhere in the universe. It is important to note that this proliferation of spheres is present regardless of mass. In both the hydrogen atom, the basic building block of our periodic table, and in objects as dense as black holes. Spherical objects are a direct result of matter being caught and crushed between two insanely overpowering forces. To understand how our universe works and this odd anomaly of spherical objects, let's take a look at Einstein's special theory of relativity. Albert Einstein said, "You can take a small amount of mass and convert it into a large amount of energy, and vice versa." What Einstein was talking about is the basis for the atomic bomb or fission, a powerful force. On Earth, such an explosion looks like a mushroom cloud. However, in space, this explosion would be more like a fireworks display, something that explodes uniformly outward from a central point. The important thing to notice here is that it is a force that moves uniformly outward into a spherical shape. Now, the most interesting part about Einstein's special relativity is the reverse case, or where a large amount of energy comes together to form a small amount of mass. In space, it's like an atomic bomb in reverse. The important thing to notice here is that there it is a force or fusion of energy whose movement is uniformly from the surface of a spherical shape toward the center. In Einstein's theory of special relativity, he showed the relationship between mass and energy. Later, Einstein expanded his theory into his general theory of relativity, where he modified this mass-energy relationship to include gravity. In special relativity in the reverse case, or high-energy fusion, at the exact moment mass and matter form out of pure energy, gravity must also exist. Of particular interest is that the direction of the force in high-energy fusion is the exact same direction that the force of gravity has, and that if you crush any object uniformly powerfully from its surface towards its own center, that object will become spherical in shape. In the relationship between mass, energy, and gravity, if that energy were a force, or rather, the net result of dense matter caught between two powerful forces, a grand strong force and a grand weak force, objects would be crushed regardless of how much mass they had. In a mashup between relativity and Newton's laws of motion, one result would be a proliferation of dense matter spheres throughout the universe that have gravity. To explain further in Newton's laws of motion, when a single powerful force acts on an object that causes it to move, the powerful connection between all atoms causes those atoms to act as one, and all atoms in that object move with the same acceleration in the same direction. When you have two such powerful forces acting from opposite directions, that object is crushed. Again, all the atoms in the object must move, and where they move is exactly toward the center between the two forces. Due to the powerful connection between all atoms, when atoms in the object move to the center, all atoms move toward the center with the same acceleration. With enough force, these two opposing forces crush the object uniformly from the surface toward its own center, forming a spherical shape. This is when the magic happens. When the grand strong force and grand weak force meet in the center of a highly dense object, it's like hitting a brick wall from both sides. It amplifies the crushing force. And since the direction of that crushing force is uniformly from the surface of that object toward a central focal point, matter behaves just like a magnifying glass does in bending light into a single focal point. The forceful push to the center is now amplified so much it now extends beyond the actual physical circumference of the object, far out into the space around that object. And that is the grand design theory of gravitation. In this theory, it isn't curved space that gives the effect of gravity, but rather curved force that has the same effect. Gravity is a purely cause-effect phenomenon rather than some abstract idea. Thank you.